Good morning, everybody. It's a Wandering Author here, reminding you that we are all the authors of our own lives. As always, my message remains the same: spend less, live more, earn more freedom with frugality. Today, we're going over part two of the first book of the Metaphysics by Aristotle, where Aristotle begins to really examine the differences between knowledge and wisdom. So, if we're going to seek this type of knowledge, the type we call wisdom, quote, we must inquire of what kind are the causes and principles. Take the notion we have about the wise man. That might make this more evident. Wise men are those who know all things in so far as possible, though he knows them not in detail. The wise man is also he who can learn what is difficult with ease. Quote, again, he who is more exact and more capable of teaching the causes is wiser. For the wise man must not be ordered, and he must not obey another. The sciences which we learn just for the sake of knowing them are more of wisdom than the sciences we learn for practical results. With these notions of wisdom in the wise in mind, we can begin. Quote, now, of these characteristics, that of knowing all things, must belong to him who has in the highest degree universal knowledge, in comparison to particular knowledge. For he knows, in a sense, all the instances that fall under the universal. The most universal of things tends to be the hardest for us to know, as they are the farthest from the senses. The most exact or precise of the sciences tend to be those most concerned with first principles. However, sciences concerned with causes and causation also instruct us, and in a higher degree. Aristotle continues, saying how understanding and knowledge are frequently self-chosen and are pursued for their own sake. These right here is in a reference, carpentry, for example, is a practical science. You need to have a chair, so you learn how to be a carpenter. Math, on the other hand, sure, carpenters use math. However, Aristotle believes that math is chosen for its own sake. When we choose to pursue a skill, talent, or science only so that we can know it, we usually aim at what is most knowable. Since these sciences have readily knowable principles and causes, all other things come to be known. This is a simple idea. So, first principles, these sciences, the sciences which we have the most readily available fundamental assumptions about, are the ones that we base everything else on in order to build up our scientific body of knowledge. The most authoritative science is that which knows to what end each thing must be done, and this end is the good of that thing, and in general the supreme good in the whole of nature. Judged by all the tests we have mentioned, then, the name in question belongs to the same science. This must be a science that investigates the first principle and causes, because the good, i.e., the end, is one of the causes. Aristotle is building a clear picture of what metaphysics is in this section. Metaphysics is unrelated to production, and this is obvious starting with the earliest of philosophers. For it is owing to their wonder that men at first began to philosophize. The first of philosophers wondered about how the celestial operated and about the genesis of the universe, and a man who is puzzled and wonders thinks himself ignorant. They philosophized to escape from this ignorance, and they sought science for the sake of science. For it was when almost all of the necessities of life and recreation secured that man began the pursuit of such knowledge. And because of this, Aristotle thought that we seek it not for the sake of any other advantage. Aristotle draws a comparison between metaphysics and man. A man is free when he no longer has to do things for the sake of another. So too would metaphysics be the only free science, since it only exists for its own sake. Further, Aristotle saw metaphysics as almost outside the realm of human comprehension. Some poets thought this type of knowledge belonged to a jealous god. However, the view of Aristotle was that since philosophers could lead fortunate lives, that this was mere superstition or fallacy. But the divine power cannot be jealous, nor should any other science be thought of more honorable than one of this sort. For the most divine science is also most honorable, and this science alone must be in two ways most divine. Metaphysics would be the science of God for this reason, And this science studies divine objects. For God is thought to be among the causes of all things, and to be a first principle. And such a science either God alone can have, or God above all others. All the sciences indeed are more necessary than this, but none is better. Thus, the end of part 2. We've explained the target and aim of metaphysics thoroughly. Next time we're going to go over the 4 types of causes. As always, my questions to you remain the same. What are you doing in order to inspire, uplift, and empower your local community today? Because this world isn't changing unless we all do our part. And you can count on me to do mine daily. Until next time, just a wandering author here, signing out.